channel. I'm so excited about this video today because if you read the title of this video, I'm basically going to show you how to plan a really big trip all on your own without having to use a travel agent or one of those travel websites online, vacation packages. I'm going to show you how to do it all on your own because this is how I have been doing it for years and years. Number one though, I just wanted to say, if you follow my channel, I know I've been gone for a couple of weeks, but if I'm being honest with you, I just got really busy starting February 1st with my full-time job, and I just got a little backtrack, sorry. Second, if you follow my Instagram, you will see that I'm sitting in my new studio / office in my house. Same space obviously, but it's just been redone, and my hubby had surprised me for Valentine's Day. He repainted in here this like really pretty navy blue color, which makes the video pop as well, and he got me a ring light, which I really had been wanting, so I'm so excited to be shooting this very first studio vlog today in my new studio, so yay. Okay, so I wanted to tell you guys some background. The reason why I'm shooting and filming this video for you is because, well, number one, I'm currently like in planning mode right now for our big anniversary spring trip coming up, so all of this is like fresh in my mind, and I just really felt like it was time to share it with you guys because I get a lot of questions about our travels. If you follow my channel, then you know I do a lot of traveling, and it's always myself, my husband, and our toddler. So yeah, we do like a lot of traveling, and I get a lot of questions every time I go on vacation. So it could be from whether it's family, friends, acquaintances, coworkers, that kind of thing, but it could even be like the most random person that I'm just talking to, like somebody who's doing my hair, and we start talking about anything like traveling, and then they ask me questions, and usually it's the same thing, like, wow, how did you book that big international trip? What agent did you use? Who's your travel agent? Or they'll say, how did you find that hotel? Or what website did you use? And it's just funny because for me, it just comes so natural to like be able to plan all this on my own, but I'm becoming more aware that it's not so easy or so natural for other people, and maybe you don't really want to mess with it, which is why you just let someone else handle it. But I feel like if you're watching this video, I hope I can inspire you to really go out there and plan your dream vacation. Let's just go ahead and get started. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for new videos up every single week, and you can always follow me on Instagram for daily content. One more thing, I will be showing like clips of different vacations that we've taken the past several years, like throughout the video, just so you can kind of see visually some of the vacations and places that I'm talking about. Greece, Hawaii, California, just to name a few. So I will kind of clip those in here and there. Okay, so the very first thing you need to do when planning a very big trip is decide when you want to go and where you want to go. Now, I know these seem like very obvious things, but it's just when I talk to people, when they're planning their vacations, they'll say, Priscilla, I have no idea where to start. And then I'll say, well, where are you going? When are you going? And to my surprise, they haven't decided yet. So I feel like that's number one. You have to decide when you want to go and where you want to go. Some things to keep in mind about the when is just like high season versus low season. Typically June, July, and August is very high season with a lot of tourists, especially like in the European countries. It doesn't mean that you can't travel during those times, especially if that's what works for you in your schedule with summer and maybe kids being off from school. I can tell you my very first big Europe trip was actually the last week in August, and it was really, really packed everywhere we went. I mean, like extremely packed, but it was still, a really great trip, and it still involved a lot of pre-planning that saved me a lot of money and time, so totally can still be done, but it is something to consider because now I actually prefer to book a lot of my trips in May. Middle to late May is like perfect just because the weather is usually warming up in most places, but it's not quite as dramatically packed as like June or July or August. So I just think like May is a really good time. Some people would also say September. And technically I think tourist season starts like April 1st through the end of like September, but I think that's the number one thing you have to decide. You have to pick where you're gonna go and when, because you honestly can't move forward without those very two basic but important factors decided. Okay, something else really important to consider though also from the start is if it's like a big international trip, you definitely need to give yourself like a lot of extra time to plan. Believe it or not, some people plan out more than 6 months in advance. I personally start like thinking and planning like 5 to 6 months in advance, like in my head, or maybe, you know, getting ideas down on paper, but I don't actually start booking until probably like 3 or 4 months out. Most of the trips I take are international trips now. If it's domestic, it can be, you know, just a couple months out. But just think about, like, you know, the sooner you book, the better your chances are for getting everything that you want. Everything from, you know, the right reservation, the right dinner reservation, the best prices, the best room at a hotel, etc. If you really wait too long, and I have actually done this before, I think it was booking a domestic flight, but I was already in Greece, so it was like from Athens to Santorini, and I kind of waited till it was a month out, and the prices doubled because I looked like a couple months prior to that and it was really, really cheap. So in my head I was like, oh, I'll just book that later. And then when I got around to it, it doubled the price. So definitely don't wait, especially if you see a deal, snag it. Okay, so moving on to the second thing that you have to do. So right after you've decided like where you want to go and when you want to go, you definitely want to book your accommodation. So the way that you do this, honestly, or the way that I do this, is that I look like on TripAdvisor, I look at the city and I decide what part of the city I want to be in. So this is really just going to vary on your personal taste. Like maybe you want to be in the city center, maybe you want to be with a view of the ocean, maybe there's like a certain side of town that you definitely want to be at because it's closer to certain excursions that you want to do. So this is going to vary, but you just have to really look at the map of the city and decide, where do I want to stay? You have to pick an area first before you can really narrow down accommodation. So once you find an area that you want to stay in, the thing that I do is I go on like websites like TripAdvisor. Usually I'll hit up TripAdvisor first, but then I'll start to like look at like booking.com and hotels.com, and I'll just look at the different kinds of accommodations. And I will say that if you are traveling with a family, you may want to consider Airbnb. In fact, this year for our big trip, I'm doing Airbnb for our whole trip. So I will have more about that experience later, but it is really great so you can have more space if you have little ones, or you can have like a kitchen. And a lot of times I find it's a lot more affordable as well. But either way, decide what you want to do, hotel, Airbnb, there's HomeAways as well, and just do your research. Go look at reviews. So once I pick like the area that I want to be in, usually there's like a hotel that I've probably already heard about or I'm like dying to stay in. But if you're not like aware, like I said, you can just look at these websites and you can just narrow down. Once you figure out the area you want to be in, narrow it down to a couple hotels, check TripAdvisor, look at reviews, read through all the reviews, are so helpful. If you're still not sure, you can actually go on the TripAdvisor forum. Each city has a forum, and there's like, I think they're like volunteers, but they're experts within that area or that city. So you can ask them questions and say, hey, I have it narrowed down to this place, and this place. What do you think? It also might, vary on your budget, but I find TripAdvisor to be super helpful. Another tip that I have though is, even though I look on TripAdvisor and like booking.com and hotels.com, just to name a few, I look on there to read reviews, and I look on there to get an idea of how much it is for the room rate, but I almost always book directly through the hotel. This is for a lot of reasons, but more so for peace of mind, because these vacations are really expensive, so I like to make sure I'm getting like exactly what I want. And sometimes I get a little nervous with like, the booking.com type websites, because they're kind of vague. Like maybe you can't pick the room that you're going to be in, like the exact room. But if you call the hotel yourself and book directly, a lot of times I feel like your chances of getting exactly what you want are going to be better, because they'll make a note on your account. And I have just found that usually works out perfectly for me, because I usually get exactly what I want. For example, last year we went to Greece, and there was like a pool suite. They only had 2 pool suites in the entire hotel. And even though I booked a pool suite, one of them, in my opinion, was better than the other. So I made sure to call the hotel and let them know directly that, this was the one that I wanted. I even sent them like a screenshot of the room, and they said that they could not guarantee it, but they were making a note on my account. and of course to check back a few days before, which I did just to remind them. So I ended up getting the room that I wanted. So for me, my tip is to just go directly through the hotels. You can book through the other websites as well, that if you're into points or something, but I usually just go through the hotel myself. Okay, so number 3. So now you have picked where you want to go, when you want to go, you have your hotel or accommodation booked. So the next thing you need to do is book your flight. I do have actually like a lot of flight tips and advice, but I think I might do like a separate video specifically on that. But a couple of things to really keep in mind is, if you see a deal, do not wait, do not hesitate, snag it, because the thing about flights is that they change constantly. So if you really, if you just notice that it has dropped, dramatically, book it while you can, because it's probably going to be completely different the next day. Other than that, I would say to really track the prices and start sooner than later. So I told you earlier that when it comes to like the international flights, I really like to start my research and planning a good 5 to 6 months in advance, but I usually don't book until like 4 or 3 months in advance. And for the flight, I usually book 3 months in advance at the most. But throughout that time though, I'm tracking the prices because I just want to see like how they fluctuate. So definitely track the flights. Another really big tip that I have for booking your flight is consider like maybe another city that's close to you, flying out of a different city. So for example, I live in San Antonio, Texas, and for some reason, sometimes flying out of Austin, Texas, which is like an hour and a half away, is just like, it saves me like a lot of money. So for example, last year we went to Greece, and I want to say we drove to Austin, we flew out of Austin, and I think I saved like maybe $500, right? Well, it's not so much, but it's still something. This year, we are flying out of Austin again, and I am saving $1,500. Yes, $1,500. So the way I did this was, and this is a trick, so if you're flying to Europe, a lot of times the best thing to do is to just find the cheapest direct flight that you can to like a major city in Europe, so like Paris or in London, where they have multiple airports. Because then there's tons of flights that you can find from Europe, from one Europe country to another, that are not that expensive, and they're really quite frequent, like with British Airways. So that part's really easy. But what we did this year is that we actually booked our flight from Austin to London, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because the capital is in Austin and they have a lot of flights to London, but I was able to book round trip for $500 per person, where considering flying from San Antonio to London was going to be like $1,000 each. So this is something that maybe you can do in your city as well. You can kind of look at your neighboring big city just to see if maybe it's cheaper, maybe it's more affordable. If it's only a couple $100 difference, maybe it's not worth it to you, which is understandable. But again, in our situation, I think $500 to $1,500 is like a pretty big difference. So after you've already decided where you're gonna go, and you have your flight booked and you have your accommodation booked, the next part is just totally fun. It's so much fun because you get to basically plan out your itinerary. So again, I use like TripAdvisor or Viator online. I look at reviews, I look at the top things to do in the area, I look at travel vlogs, I watch them on YouTube. I also read a lot of like travel guides, and I'll read blogs that other travel bloggers have actually written about that specific city, and I'll just do research like that. And for me, it's really fun because like watching videos is the best way to like visually really see a city, and you'll see something like a restaurant that maybe somebody ate at with this beautiful view, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have to eat at that restaurant, let me write that down. Or you'll be reading like a travel guide, and they'll have some really great tips or places, or even like a day itinerary, like go here, here, and then here. And it's just like a really great way to give yourself ideas, and you can pick the best things and tailor it for your family, obviously. It's really easy because once you decide the things that you want to do, you just make a plan. I do make like an itinerary, and I kind of make a day-to-day itinerary of what we're going to be doing. I'm not saying I stick to it 100%, especially because I have a toddler, so things change, but I really like having kind of like a guideline for what I'm going to be doing, as opposed to like just going and winging it. I I know that there's a lot of people that do that, and you know, kudos if it works for you, but you know, these trips are really expensive and you're putting a lot of your hard-earned money into these trips, so I definitely think it's worth a little bit of research because you don't want to miss out on something amazing. So look at TripAdvisor. Like I said, you can watch travel vlogs, and you can definitely find all the best things that you want to do, and then just make a plan. And you can book everything on your own. A lot of times you'll find that certain things are best booked maybe when you're actually on site, like it won't really matter, but some things will sell out. So for example, say you're going to Rome and you want to go to the Vatican. Well, those tickets are actually time tickets and they go on sale. I think they're very precise. It's like 2 months or 60 days out. So you really have to be aware of those things, which is why as soon as you have your hotel and your flight booked, right away start looking at the big attractions in that city. You may already know why you're going there in the first place, so maybe there's certain things you really want to do, but you know, just as an example, say you're going, like I said, you're going to Rome and you're like, I want to go to the Vatican. Well, right away that should be something that you look into because you need to research, how do I go to the Vatican? Can I buy tickets on site? Can I pre-buy them? Can I pre-book them? Is there a fee to pre-book them, etc.? You can find that not only do you save a lot of money, but time. When it comes to the restaurants though, guys, do not forget to make reservations, especially if it's like a Michelin star restaurant or somewhere that has like a view that's gonna get booked up quickly. You'll wanna make sure that you either call in advance or that a lot of times you can email them directly and book a reservation, but I know if you get like that perfect seating that's right in the front that has the view, sometimes if you're traveling with kids, you'll actually have to check to make sure that they allow children, because you'd be surprised, there's a lot of places that are adult friendly only, and I'm not even just talking about like a bar, like sometimes they're restaurants, and because of the location, maybe it's like a cliffside restaurant, they don't allow children under a certain age, maybe they don't have high chairs, whatever the situation is. So I always, now that's like a little extra step that I have to take because now I have to ask those questions, but definitely make those reservations, guys, just because time slots do fill up, especially if it's like a city that is like a big tourist destination, and you just want to make sure that you are getting everything that you want. So book in advance for sure. So once you already have pretty much everything decided what you're going to do, and you have a day-to-day guide for yourself and your family, what you're going to try to stick to, the next thing is just thinking about transportation. So you definitely have to plan it out. So for example, on our trip this year, I had to even see, are there Ubers in the south of France? Like I had to actually, you know, Google each city and just find out if I could actually ride Ubers in each of these towns. So these are really important things to know because you may have to take a train or you may have to take the bus, but definitely becoming, just getting to know the area, especially if you're going to be traveling like in a general area, maybe from like city to city if you're traveling like along the Mediterranean or whatever it is. Or maybe it's easier for you and you're just staying in one city and you're going to rent a vehicle, perfectly fine too, but just making sure that you have some sort of idea about how you're going to be getting around this town. That way you're not wasting time trying to figure that out. So that's it, guys. It really is that easy. Again, you don't have to use like a travel agent. You don't have to use one of those like excursion like travel websites where they plan 7 to 10 days out for you. You can do it all on your own. It's really easy. It can be super affordable. Everything will be in your hands, in your control. And it's something that I've been practicing and doing for like 5 years, and I get so many like compliments all the time about, I guess maybe it's from people who see pictures about what we're doing, or maybe they're watching my travel vlogs, I don't know, but it makes me feel good because, you know, again, I put a lot of like time and research into this, and again, you don't have to put in as much time and research as I do. It happens to be something that I truly love doing and I'm like obsessed with it. But I'm telling you, even if you just do minimal research, you can really do everything on your own. It's not scary, it's not complicated, and it really will save you time and money. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Happy travels, everybody. Be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know what is on your travel radar for this year, just because I always love following other people along as well on their journeys and just getting ideas for my own travels. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I have a lot of travels planned for later this year as well, including France and Monaco as my next big trip. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week.